Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the canyon. Detritus. Welcome to this. This is an installment of the future past. Welcome to future comments from the past about, presented in the present, about the past, because this is the future, which is your present and my past. Ooh, it's a time swirl right here, my friends. Someone in the comments, I'm going to put it on screen. Someone in the comments had the audacity to say, oh, you're a guy that is good at testing things. How about you test how tires do at temperatures? And I was like, and then it got in me, right? It got up in the brain case, and I was like, you know what? I can do that. So in the past, this is my present, this is my past now. The future, this is Baseline's future, this is your present. What happened is every hour, not on the hour, but hourly, I went out to Daphne's line, and this gentleman, this dusty gentleman, he already did it. It's already done. He went out there every hour, and he drove Daphne's line from the morning to basically quitting time. He put in a work day out on Daphne's line to see how do the tires react to differences in surface temperature. I actually got something interesting out of it. And I think I was smart in recording the intro after I did all of the work and the outro. So this is all time looped. We're all backwards. We're doing the first part last. We did the last part in the middle, and we did the middle part first and middle and last. No spoilers. But it got up to, I think it was 112 is where we got to today. Inside the workshop right now, it's only 93 degrees. It's no problem. You know what? After you've been outside when it's 112 all day, 93 feels okay. It feels okay. So this guy needs an air bath. He should still be he's cooling off. Tires. Yeah, everything's down to about 105, 106. He saw some temperatures today. We had a good time. I hope you have a good time watching what's coming up. I'm going to hand you over to me from like 12 hours ago. I don't remember. I don't have the mental fortitude to remember everything that happened today. So we begin at the beginning. Wait, we're beginning at the end. Oh, I'm too tired to think about it. I'll see you guys in like 2 seconds. Ambient temperature is around 74 degrees, around 70% humidity. It is the 7 o'clock hour. Temperature on the rocks right around 82. That is how the desert works, even overnight. It hasn't cooled down all the way. 82 is probably the best we're going to see at any time. Canyon trails, obviously. Get a little hun there. It's a little push. Should be able to get it back. And there it is. I'll see you in an hour. I'm going to try to attempt to make some little bit of consistency in setup and attempts here. It is the 8 o'clock hour. It is 88 degrees. Humidity has dropped to 45%, and as one would expect, as Daphne's line, this will be the last hour that the line is in the shade. The temperature on the rocks is still 82 degrees. So nothing has changed there. Baseline has been here before. Same exact hang spot. We're just gonna go for the same wide left here. Here's the wide left. Now we to be able to shuttle it back. There we go, and just like that. Yeah, it's the same thing. I don't think it's going to drop off until we get into the hundreds, but we're going to keep doing it. It is the 9 o'clock hour. The ambient temperature is right around 91 degrees. The humidity still hovering around 45%. The temperature on the rocks, now that we're getting a little bit out into the sun, I think the next hour we'll see a little bit of a jump. The temperature on the rocks is also averaging around 91 degrees. I measure a couple different points and just kind of average between them, because any spot that's more in the shade is going to be a little cooler. Any spot that's had direct sunlight on it is going to be a little hotter. We'll go the same, try a little left, and then go for the back cut. All right, so we're up a few degrees. I don't think that was really a heat-related loss of traction. No, it's just a matter of me not finding the line fast enough. I feel like a very economy bow miles. I'm choring, and then I come out for about a minute every hour to do this again. It is the 10 o'clock hour. It is 99 degrees. The humidity has dropped to around 35, maybe 36%. Temperature on the rocks. In the shade, we're only looking at like say for instance, right here under the underhang right there, you're looking at about 95 on the rocks. Anything in the sun, 105, 106. I saw some of the darker, less, crystalline spots, 108, 109. Will there be a sweet spot of temperature that traction, like it? I feel like there's a little more traction right now. The rig is not hanging out here. Baseline is coming back inside with me. He's sitting on the table saw, just waiting for his next opportunity to come out. Now, actually, there it felt a little greasy. That's a big float to the left. But we can get it back. I don't know. It, like, a spot felt more traction, and then it got to feel a little greasy as we get towards the afternoon. I think that grease is really going to show. It is the 11 o'clock hour. Ambient temperature in the air is 106 degrees Fahrenheit. The lowest temperature that I could find on any of the rocks, and I can't maintain consistency over this many hours. Relative humidity hovering around 30%. The lowest temperature I could find at any point on the rocks was 106 degrees. The highest temperature I found on any rock in the line was 122 degrees. The usual spot of hang here. But now we're getting a bit more bounce. We're going a wide left. I would say that I could perceive a slight loss of traction kind of in the middle, basically transitioning from where the rock is cooler to where the rock is hotter. And mind you, he isn't really getting time to heat up. He's coming out of a relatively cool environment, so he's cooler tires going on to hotter rocks. As the day goes on, the hottest point of the day is probably about 4 to 5 hours away. When we get to that, we might take more than one hit at it to see as his tires warm up to the temperature of the rocks, because the rocks should hit around 150 during the peak of the day, and we'll see what it looks like then. It is the 12 o'clock hour, and in being thankful for small favors, there is a soft, hot breeze from the west, southwest, like someone opening an oven door at some distance. It is 109 degrees. Humidity has dropped below 30%. We're in that 28, 29% range. The lowest temperature recorded on the rocks just moments ago was 117 degrees. That is in the shady spots on the rocks, 117 degrees. I would say the average is somewhere around 125, 126. I'm just kind of panning around with the laser. And the highest temperature recorded right about where his driver's side front tire is right now at 134 degrees. So it is getting warm. And I can tell you that carrying him back into the well, I drove back to the workshop, and then I pick him up and I put him on the same spot because he's getting ready to come and do it again in an hour. He's hot. He is hot. And I am going to say that right there with the rocks about 125, I feel like I got more grip right there. Like I don't know if the tires are getting used to it, I'm getting used to it. I didn't have to do the left-hand shuttle to pull through there. So rock temps at 125, we're not losing traction yet. We're going to at some point, but we're not yet. It is now the 1 o'clock hour. The ambient temperature is 111 degrees, just under 112. We're going to call it 111. I can see we're like drag brake will actually roll a little bit. The lowest temperature that I temped anywhere on the rocks was 120 degrees, which is in that little shadow, right? Right at the base of the big boulder. The average temperature on the rocks probably around 130. On the bigger guys, I was getting like 137. Relative humidity is down to about 25%. And even being out here for about 90 seconds at a time, when baseline goes back in to wait for his next hour, it is notable how hot he is. Because like I say, surface temperatures in that 120 to 130 area. So he after we'll be about here about 2 minutes for the 1 o'clock, and traction has now started to fall off. As you can see, his average temperature on his body will be at 115 from 2 minutes of operation. I think we may have gotten, okay, here's the left. There we go. But it feels super greasy. You've got to get the tire in just the right spot to get any grip out of it. Yeah, it's hot. It is the 2 o'clock hour. It is about 113 degrees. Humidity is down to right around 25%. Temperature on the rocks, funnily enough, apparently the shadow there at the base of the boulder, it hits 121 degrees and just stays there because it's not getting direct sunlight. So the parts of the rock that are in the sunlight are just holding it. Because like where he's trying to get his back tire up right now, 137. So it really does act greasy. There we go. I'm gonna get to the top for this run. We're gonna keep going. I had the intention of going 12 hours, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna go until the temperature plateaus. Like there's no point in. Wow, there was nothing. There was no. I could get no pullback there at all. We're gonna go until the wind is now blowing the 180 degree opposite direction it was blowing before. I think the heat is making me hit a little more throttle than I would like to. There we go. So we're still not at the point of a loss of throttle, and I honestly do. I feel like when there's a disparity between the tire temperature and the surface temperature, that's when we get that greasy feeling. The tires are acting cold, like a cold tire would on a race car, because the surface is so hot. Tires are temping out 127 degrees. His roof is 143. And surprisingly, to me, the bed is right around the same 143, and it's black. It is matte black. Well, in theory, there's a theory that that the matte black will release temperature faster, which is why I think the bed is the same temperature as the roof. But we can kill a few seconds here. I have my leg crossed, and don't let skin touch skin when it's 113. You will just kind of sweat together like you'll make your own glue. So he's been parked out there in the sun now for about 30 seconds. Yeah, 138 on the hood, 149 on the roof, 146 in the bed. Tires are now about 129. For frame of reference, the dirt under the truck, 151 degrees. So it is genuinely, you know, you go, you blind yourself when you're in the ocean and the water, the sun bounces off the water and hits up into your eyes, or when you're in the snow and it does the same thing. The heat isn't up here. The heat is down here. The heat comes from below because the air is 113, which actually feels pretty good because the ground is 151. Ooh, I'll see you next hour. It is the 3 o'clock hour. It remains around 112 degrees, which generally indicates that that's as hot as it is going to get today. We will see if it falls off in the 4 o'clock hour. The relative humidity remains right around 25%. And the temperature on the rocks has risen about 5 degrees. The coolest part, which is the shadow, you can see the shadow at the base of the boulder on Daphne's is now getting much smaller. There's just a tiny little bit of shade there. About 125 there under the shadow of the rock. Hottest portion here on the flat rock in the low 140s, but most of the rocks are mid to upper 130s. 136, 137, 138, right in there. Generally takes him a minute or so to get up to temperature, to get that slickness off of him, well, off the tires, that slick behavior, which I think is race car in reverse. Definitely getting, it's definitely getting slippery. And also the heat has now really soaked in. There we go. Tried this higher shot last time. We had enough compliance. No, very slippery. Almost. Yeah, I don't have anything to pull me back. There, oh, come on, there. Yeah, there we go. It's taking longer and longer here to get through here. We will see. 4 p.m. in the 4 o'clock hour, usually the hottest point of the day. We'll see if we start tapering off. It is the 4 o'clock hour. The wind is actually cooler than the air now. Let me see what's on the ground. Yeah, even the ground, the soil, the sun. What is it? The apogee. We're at an angle sufficient to where it's a little oblique, so it's not heating things. Like right now, except for where the sun is hitting my leg, it doesn't feel like I'm being roasted. Ambient temperature still 112. Relative humidity 25%. Temperature on the rocks now, this side of the rock is now the coolest at about 128. So we're already dropping back down. We'll do one more hour. I don't think we're gonna learn much beyond that. Like, see, just that little bit of cooling off, I felt, for a split second, I felt like there was a little more, it had gotten a little less greasy. I got that rear axle. Now let's see. This is where we rolled out last time. Yeah, you could see, I mean, slippery. It is really slippery out there. You give it another go round to see if it's not a matter of cold tires. It feels super greasy still. I'm coming to think that once we got to a certain point, it doesn't matter if they get hotter. It's just really slick out there, and now it's thoroughly heated. So we'll give one more fire at it here. Well, let's try, instead of proceeding through insanity, let's try. This is generally a little tougher, but we're not ordinarily operating at 135 degrees. Yeah, there's just no real traction to be had. Ordinarily we'll get a little bit lower in the humidity when it's this hot. But 112.25 is where we peaked at, and honestly now, after this many hours, there's so much heat soaked in. I don't want this to be the first. I mean, he's already failed to make it because we've rolled out a couple times. My foot is really burning. Yeah, there's no traction to be had out here. Very, very slick, very greasy feeling. And there we go. Yeah, you know what? I mean, it took 3.5 times as long to get up that, but we got up there. And I think it's probably, and I can see some fresh, like we took rubber off to get to the top of that. So I'm gonna forecast, we're gonna do junior weathercaster. I think next time we come out, probably be the final time, if not the final time, the penultimate time for the 5 o'clock hour. And in the 5 o'clock hour, I'm gonna say it'll probably be down to like 110, 109, 110. It'll start dropping off, and we'll see how he does. And now we're gonna exit stage left. It is the 5 o'clock hour. It is close enough as to, please don't fall on me. It is close enough as to be what I would call quitting time. The temperature has dropped to 108. We shed 4 degrees in that hour. But rocks have hidden within them a power. And the power is the ability to hold temperature. They can stay colder while their environment is getting hotter. Marble does this. And they can stay hotter much longer while things are cooling down. The rocks are pretty much the exact temperature they were an hour ago. Late into the night, after the sun has set, the temperature on the rocks will hover around 100 degrees until probably midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So they keep the whole desert biome out here, they keep the canyon proper hotter all the way through the night. So his traction profile is going to be roughly identical to what it was about an hour ago, because we are at saturation. The rocks are as hot as they're going to get today. And what we've learned, I think, is that realistically up there get it, but like we get to right there, and that should just be a straight through, but we kind of had a, so maybe a little cooler in the crack. I don't think the laser works from this far away. It does. Wow. Yeah, no, 121. The shade, which is right under his rump there, is at about 121. What used to be in the shade is, yeah, still like 127. So in that 120 range, we're pretty good. Once you get up over about 130, traction really starts to fall away. And like I say, the temperature on terra firma here on the soil is already down to about 115. So we're in the out of frame, down directly below you. We're now in the shade. There's big trees shading us from the west, so we've lost 25 to 30 degrees off the ground temperature. Meanwhile, the rocks have not changed temperature, because the rocks, they don't play those games. We will end this one on what has stuck in my mind as an amusing analogy for many, many years now, a quarter of a century almost. A quarter of a century. I, for a time, fancied the notion of becoming a geologist until I found out that I am good at arithmetic and bad at math. To get a Bachelor in Sciences, you have to do an extensive amount of mathematics, not arithmetic, and I couldn't do it, so I fell back to what I was good at. Anyway, during that time when I was attempting to become a geologist, I went on a field trip course where we went up into the mountains and we looked at rocks and minerals, Marie. We looked at them both, and it was a fantastic time. It took place over 2 days. We camped one night, and this story comes from that night of camping. Everyone, it is Southern California. This occurred roughly in the summer, around when college starts in the fall. So think late August, early September. Not a time in this part of the world when it is generally cold. But we had neglected to take into account the fact that we were going up to about 6,000 feet, 6,500 feet. And it does get a little bit cooler there at night. So we're camping for our geology field trip, and we're all huddled around the fire in the fire pit because, baby, it's cold outside. It was probably like low 40s after we had eaten, and like we weren't going to bed because it was so cold that we knew that like people were literally in tank tops, shorts, flip-flops. This is what summer. Some people didn't bring sleeping bags because when we left home, it was 90 degrees, right? We did not expect 40s. Then there was some sort of weather system that came in over the night, and as it was getting later into the night, by about 2 o'clock in the morning, it was approaching freezing. It was in the mid-30s. This is uncomfortable to people who are wearing shorts and flip-flops and tank tops. So one of the guys in the party, a potential future geologist, he might be a geologist right now, I don't know. He said, I saw a thing where cowboys would put a rock in the fire and they would take that rock to bed with them. And it would keep them warm. They would put it under their, they would stack the grass up and everything. He said, I'm gonna take a rock to bed with me tonight. So he put a big old rock in the fire. And then I can't remember what he used. He might have used a floor mat from his car to roll the rock onto that, and then he dragged it into his tent with him. And sure enough, like you could hear him exclaim, "It's so warm in here, dude." And that hot rock did what it was supposed to. And what that hot rock did was make it much warmer inside the tent than outside the tent. And it engaged a thing that we like to call the dew point. And during the night, the temperature outside dropped to about 30 degrees, which is like less than a third of what it is right now. And it was much hotter inside his tent than it was in anyone else's tent. So his entire tent got wet because all the dew condensed on it, and then it froze. So he woke up in an igloo from which he could not escape, because tents are basically very like jackets made into buildings. The whole thing was frozen. And I don't just mean like it had frost on the outside of it. I mean it was an igloo. It was a dome of ice. All the zippers were frozen shut. The tent was frozen solid, like you could knock on it like it was wood. That rock did keep him warm. And then, I guess, for taking it away from its hot brethren in the fire, it tried to kill him. But we all survived. It was a great trip. The very short takeaway from that is, folks, rocks hold heat for a long time. And these rocks will continue to hold heat well into the night. Baseline says that he's hot. He's had enough time outside, and I agree. My goal, I set out to do, I was like, let's do 12 hours. We'll do 12 hours. Well, we got one short of that, if my arithmetic serves. We did this 11 times, and I just want to take a shower because in the shade, in a breeze, it's still hot. You can still sit and sweat. So don't don't drive rock crawlers above about, I would say probably about 105. Really, realistically, if it gets into triple digits, it's probably too hot because it's going to heat the surface up past that point. You're going to get past 120 degrees on the surface, and at that point, nothing likes it. The electronics certainly don't like it. We generally gear things to stay in that 120 range. I guarantee you all of his electronics are over 120 right now just from sitting there, because he is in the direct sunlight. I'm always curious. I'm ever curious. Oh no, yeah. Roof of the bed about 125. So inside he could be about 120. It's cooling off. How you know you're a denizen of the desert is you can talk about the surface of your remote-controlled toy car and say, it's only 125. Just 125, no problem. I will bid you adieu. I am going to go take a shower because I've had to trundle out here once an hour for the entire day, and it's too hot. If you could see this guy, let's see if it'll frame well enough. Oh, he's just way too far away. I got to the point where laziness took over me and heat took over me so much, I was only putting 2 body clips in, one in the front, one in the back. I guess that's actually plenty. It makes his body run around. Anyway, I'm starting to go crazy from the heat. Oh, there's an obscure song reference for you. I will see you all in the next one. Thank you for joining me here in the heat. A long in the process from the comments, but hey, we had a good time, right? We all had a good time. I will see you one and all in the next one. Do all the usual stuff. Be sure to have a good one, and we'll see you real soon. I need to be in bed.